Hello everyone and welcome to the pitskill.io Porsche Cup sponsored by SimQuips. I have now remembered to turn my microphone on so you can hear me, and you will also be able to hear the man I am joined with in the commentary box, Casper. Hello.
Good evening, Roy. Good that we can finally be sound on the stream.
Indeed, yeah. The ramblings of madmen in silence, thankfully not heard by anyone. So now we can, maybe now's a good time to bring back up the standings and have a look at where we are, with Reese Tattersall leading the way on 100 points in front of last championship's winner, Johan Leff. And we have Jesse Flowers and newcomer Faisal Atas in P4. And a good combination of new and veteran drivers in the championship.
Definitely. A lot of old names, a lot of new names. So it will definitely be interesting to see how we end up at the end of the season.
And I'd like to say, actually, talking of old names, I've just seen the name at the top of our standings. And a driver who I didn't think was going to be able to take part in much this season due to an injury, but Sergei Sebastian got himself up at the top and ahead of Johan Leff, who we know is fast. Not seen a lap from Tattersall yet, but could we see a new challenger for this championship emerging?
I think if I've read and seen correctly in the different chats, I think Sergi's actually braking with his hand, using some paddle on the steering wheel to brake, since he can't use his foot due to the injury he sustained last week.
So, I mean, if that is the case, that is supreme bad manners for Sergi to get all the way up to the top of the times with a braking mechanism that he must have only been practicing for the past week or so.
Definitely.
That is insane adaptability from one of our fastest drivers of the community, and will be good to see him out here in the Porsche Cups.
It will also be interesting to see how it goes between Reese and Johan this week. Last week out, Johan took pole, and Reese managed to overtake him during the race. Now we have Sergi in the mix as well, so could be a three-way fight for the win here.
And with Johan, I think just getting himself warmed up here has just gone a second faster than his previous best. Now a 2:08.6, and as I was saying before, I think we've seen in the Discord, Reese showing that he's got a high 2:07 in practice. So expect we're going to see the times come down throughout the session as the drivers get their eye in.
Yep, I've just looked it up. Sergi has been using the wheel clutch as a brake, so that is very impressive.
Yeah, some
say the least.
Some insane respect for him there. That is to get used to that in just 1 week of driving and to be putting in such competitive pace. Really showing what talent that driver has.
As we currently see Johan half a second clear of the rest of the field, but with only 16 drivers having set a lap time.
And our championship leader has come across the line and has gone P2, 1.5 tenths off of Leff. Is but not that close to his practice time, so perhaps there's a few more tenths to be gained in the session, with just 6 minutes remaining of the session. And apologies, I have just noticed that I do not have the session timer up, so I'll make sure I get that up before the race session.
This week everyone is in the 992, so we don't have anyone in any lunatics in the 991s.
That is a shame. It was although maybe not so much of a shame because I think they were a little bit more unpredictable than the 992s in the race.
Definitely, but they were rapid in a straight line.
Yeah, absolutely. It's our championship sponsor, Chris Wright, currently sitting down in P8, some 1.5 seconds off the pace. He's currently actually on an invalid lap, so we'll maybe check in with someone else and see how they're getting on.
I love Chris's team name.
Yep, the man is not adverse to a little bit of promotion in his team name. Which is quite funny because I suspect the only people who are going to be seeing that team name are going to be the people watching the stream and will already be aware that the race is happening. Colour me confused.
Yeah.
Although that, I'll stop talking nonsense and I'll start talking about Reece Tattersall, who is looking like he is about to absolutely demolish the time of left if he can keep it together for this final corner. Could be the first of our drivers, or I don't think he's quite going to make it, but close to breaking into the 207s. Reece Tattersall, we're 208.0, some 6/10 faster than Lef, and wow, throwing down a real gauntlet here.
Very impressive. It will be interesting to see what Johan can respond with 4 minutes to go in the session.
Well, Johan just responding with an off-track there, I think. Yellow flags out for the French driver as he found himself in the grass. So he's going to have a couple of laps left. As long as the tyres are okay, should be able to get himself around and onto a new flyer.
Yeah, it looks like he will. If you have fuel for it, it looks like he will manage 2 more laps.
And one of last season's championship contenders, Sam McCarthy, currently down in P9, just 6/10 off the back of Chris Wright. So he's got quite a gulf to close up if he wants to gain some more positions from this qualifying session. He is on track to gain a substantial amount of time as he comes down the long back straight.
Sam mixed up his livery a bit. Because if I remember correctly, he was running a bit brighter grey last season.
I think he's always, at least all the time I've seen him in the Porsche Cup races at least, he's been running this dark grey and blue livery. Perhaps it just looks brighter on some of the circuits. Obviously quite bright out here in Kota today, so might just look a little darker.
Might be it. This looked a bit different.
He comes around the final sector now. He's finding good improvements here and really making the best of the track. He comes up to the final corner, which might be enough to jump him up in front of both Sawyer and right ahead of him. And it does. Up into P8 goes Sam McCarthy. Good lap, and we'll see him slightly more out of danger. The good start as quite a treacherous turn 1 here at the Circuit of the Americas. Interesting to see what approach these drivers take heading into turn 1. So many different lines you can take through there, and such a wide entry and such a narrow exit.
Yeah, it's definitely a pinch point, and has caught many drivers out. But most races I've seen here has actually been quite well behaved through turn 1. But we'll see how we end up in the Porsche Cups with the no traction control on exit.
That is very true. But at least for this race, you know, you're joining me here in the commentary box, and you're able to step out of the stewarding room, which yeah, it was slightly different perspective for you on Wednesday when you're having to steward all of the cars going through turn 1.
Definitely, that will be interesting to say the least. as we see Reese Tattersall actually in the pits, so he won't try to set an even better lap time.
And we've got just 45 seconds remaining of the session now.
As car 127 has been disqualified for driving the wrong way and quit out of the session.
Oh no, double oh no.
Qualifications in ACC only lasting the session that you're in, so he would have been able to race. Oh, he's back in.
Maybe just hoping that he could skip the disqualification, but no such luck. Is out for the rest of the session. Will be starting in P25 for tonight's race. As we watch our last race's pole sitter come around down the long back straight. It doesn't look like he's got enough in hand to take away pole position from Reese Tattersall, but might just be able to get himself a little bit more security from the cars behind, although it doesn't look like there's anyone near to challenging the top two in this qualifying session.
As we see Chris on his last flying lap here.
Must have just started this one. He's not far into the lap at all. As Fergie coming around into the final sector. As we mentioned before, for a driver driving with a handbrake, is currently looking to improve massively on his previous best. Will be enough, I think, to jump him up into P3, and it does. Fergie Sebastian. Not too far off of left in the end. Only not even, just 0.03 of a second behind. And could be a good race. But this is being set up right now, as I think Chris Wright backed out of his final lap. So just Sam McCarthy to go, I think, who is on for an improvement. And oh, he invalidated it. Was up by half a second, but drove the car completely out of bounds. And we'll start this race in P10. We're going to go for a short break, and we'll be back very shortly for tonight's race. As our drivers pull away from the grid to go away on their formation lap is Reese Tattersall, who will start this race on pole position, followed by Johan Leff and Sergei Sebastian.
Impressive to see Sergei manage to slot it into P3 there. It'll be interesting to see what he manages in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on with the braking into turn one. So, obviously, you're going to have to react to the cars around him. Can't just go off of muscle memory on his hand control braking. So let's hope he's managed to get in enough practice to actually be able to have the feeling of the car on the brakes. But I'm sure a driver with his experience should find it too difficult. We've got our trio of the Quips cars out on circuit. First of those is Balazs Fahit in the SimQuips. And we have got Chris Wright in the SimQuips. And it is... Oh, actually, nope. I can't find Matthew Peltzer in the lineup. That's disappointing. Or am I missing someone else further back? Oh, actually, we've got a few other personalised liveries, I think. This looks like an interesting livery from Henstra.
Looks like we have two of the same there.
Yeah, I think Henstra and Skinner are running the same livery. The ACC camera is not giving me a very good view at the moment.
And then we see the infamous no practice gang.
Oh, there we go. He's got a very American looking livery there with Pizza Hut logos over it.
Fitting since we're at the Circuit of the Americas.
Who else was running a custom livery? I'm sure someone else was.
We have the no practice gang.
I think Joe Wilson here. Oh, we've got Joe Wilson and I think... Oh, who is that? The 103 car. That's Von Liebenstein. Got two other American themed liveries. But those will be ones to watch out for. As we
Stay. Yeah.
come into the final two corners.
Who was that? Was that Joe Wilson drifting?
It's just getting heat into his rears. It's fine.
It was an impressive drift.
As our grid forms up, it brings us round the final corner. Everyone gets onto the start-finish straight before the lights change, so that's handy. Oh, who's that in the background? I think that's one of the American liveried cars. I don't know. That might be Skinner. Oh, green lights, and we are racing in Texas. And looks like Tattel's got a good launch. And is that Sebastian looking up the inside of Leff? Nope, actually ends up having to be a bit more cautious through the corner. And it's Reese Tattel leading ahead of Leff and Liebenstein, with Sebastian dropping back into P4. Perry has made it up into P5, and Weidbeck also up into P7 as we've got yellow flags out. And there is carnage in the background. I'm not quite sure what has happened there, as we've got numerous cars dropping towards the back of the field. Up at the front is Tattersall still leading ahead of Leff.
Yeah, I think I saw Chris spinning out at the back earlier.
Yes, let's see if we can find out what happened there. This is Chris Wright's perspective. Oh, and just, I think the seas parted in front of him and exposed, well, his sister car there, the SimQuips livery, living up to its name. And, oh yeah, Chris Wright now dropped to the very back of the field after what was quite a strong qualifying. Up at the front, Matthew Perry on the attack. Nearly getting 2 for the price of 1, as Joe Wilson getting a little bit squirrely on the throttle as well in the background, and that has allowed Weidbach through up into P6.
Yeah, this is being a very big pinch point on the opening lap. As Reese and Johan has managed to pull out a 3-second gap on Sergi.
Yeah, 3 seconds in 1 lap. I think this is going to be the theme of the season. Our 2 race leaders disappearing into the distance. But we've got a good battle over our final podium position as Sergi Sebastian leading a train of cars into the first sector. And I think we've got a little bit of carnage up at turn 1. What has happened here? Oh, that looked like an absolute mess. So Bees goes through fine. Oh, and it's like a contact between Fay here and Skinner. And yeah, just a little bit of a mess all round up the top of that.
Yeah, quite a few cars winning so far in this race.
Yeah, those S's maybe just catching drivers out as they drive different lines, as they're trying to go side by side and just not knowing where they can get on the throttle. As I think that is Skinner going very deep into the hairpin onto the long back straight, and that's going to put him under pressure from Wright, who is resurgent at the moment up into P18 from the back of the grid, looking to the outside as Skinner tries to defend both the left and the right.
As he manages to, if he can keep the position, get ahead of Lee.
Oh, sorry, that is Lee behind actually in the pink car. It's Skinner in the Pizza Hut liveried car.
They actually managed to get the overtake done there.
Chris continues to look for a way through. Well, this will be a brave move up the inside, but Chris pulls it off. Plenty of space given there from Lee. And Chris Wright up into P17 in what is turning into a bit of a recovery drive, sorry. Oof. Late move across the track there from Skinner, just across the nose of Wright. They head into turn 1. Right, just having to back out a little bit as we have another spinner. That time it was Skinner spinning it round.
Skinner being a spinner.
I didn't want to be the one to say it, but indeed.
Bringing the puns out.
Chris Wright up into P16 and can now start to try and think about closing that 6-second gap up to Balazs Fay here ahead.
Looking a bit further up the field, we have a little train forming behind Parry in P4.
Yes, Sergi Sebastian has been able to stretch his legs a little bit up ahead. He's got himself a 2-second gap back to Parry, but behind there is quite the train, all battling for position behind. Or as von Liebenstein getting a little bit twitchy there on the throttle. Needs to be careful not to add himself to the list of spinners in this race.
It'll be interesting to see how the tires will hold up at the end of the race with the amount of sliding we see everywhere.
Yeah, with that quite twisty and technical third sector, there's a lot of times where drivers have to be applying the throttle with quite a lot of steering lock on. Going to be spinning up those rears, and yeah, as you say, could be damaging the rear tyres. Only a 30-minute race, so not going to be such a huge problem in this race. Reminded, these drivers do not have to pit in this race. It is a sprint from lights to flag. Well, as I say that, Henstra into the pit, so I can only imagine that is for damage.
Yeah, I think he might have been involved in the turn 1 incident earlier. So maybe just feeling the car out and deciding it's not worth it to continue with the damage he had.
And behind this train, we've got another, I was going to say battle, but a little bit of off-roading there from Svoboda as we joined that. Oh, I can see if we can see what has happened. Our check driver. Oh, it just, yeah, I think was worried he might end up rejoining into the side of another car, so takes to the grass runoff. Nice sensible decision there, and well, a cone just deciding to launch itself into the air with no one near it. Interesting physics there from ACC. As our battle over P4 continues. This time it's Robert Weidbeck who's applying the pressure to von Liebenstein. Weidbeck, who appears to be a driver of no nationality. We don't have a flag to put against this driver's name. Come down the long start finish straight. Weidbeck looking to the inside, way too far back to really have a think about anything there. As they come through again, von Liebenstein get in the rear, a little bit slidey as they come through the exit, down into the S's.
Haven't seen any DTs yet, but we don't know how the drivers are on the good old track cuts.
Yeah, not sure about the whether they're on any warnings, but I can certainly tell you that there's all manner of invalid laps popping up on my timing screen as we go through this race.
Everyone just using all parts of the track.
Yeah, it's one of the few tracks actually in ACC where the white line actually notes the limits of the track. A lot of other circuits, it's the edge of the curbing, but here, I think other than the final corner, the second to last corner, I think everywhere else the track limits are the white line.
Makes it easier for us as stewards to know whether a car is on or off track.
Indeed, it looks like von Liebenstein getting a little bit of a scrappy exit there. Not going to matter too much on this part of the circuit. There's very short runs into the next corner, but von Liebenstein squirreling around all over the place out there. Doesn't seem to be dropping him back too much in terms of pace, but can't be doing those rear tyres any good whatsoever. Let's see if he keeps it under control coming out of the final corner. Oh, seems quite tentative. Oh, and that time it is Weidbeck. Turns out whichever car I'm not watching is the one that decides to slide it through the corner.
Drift Mania.
As we come down into the S's. Show you where the drivers probably are struggling the most for the track limits. This technical, twisty first sector and a half of the circuit. Very tricky. Just some of these corners requiring so much patience from the driver, just to let the car roll around, braking on one apex, rolling it into another, picking up the throttle at just the right moment. So,
very easy to either carry too much or too little speed, and either turn in too early or too late and just mess up the rhythm.
yeah, so real sequence of corners that can make or break the lap. Much like the S's at Suzuka, but I feel even more disruptive of a driver's rhythm. At least with the S's at Suzuka, there's very distinct starts, middles and ends of each of the corners, whereas these, you're sort of breaking into one apex to carry some speed through into the next one. It's a very, very odd sequence of corners. And these four cars keeping themselves very close together throughout this race, as Sergio Sebastian disappears off into the sunrise. I should say sunset,
Yeah.
actually. It's 6:37 p.m. at the track, apparently.
Oh, it's sunset done.
Sunset, yeah.
Reese has managed to pull out a 2.6 second gap to Johan. And we have Sergi 4 seconds after Johan, so quite spread out up at the front.
Yeah, not seeing quite the battle we had at the front as we did out in Barcelona last round, where Pato kept Lefebvre honest all throughout that race, and in the end picked him with, it was just 10 minutes remaining to go in the race. It was a tight battle throughout. It seems like Pato with the pace at the Circuit of the Americas.
As we have seen, just a small mistake in these cars can just take your whole lead away. So it's not over until they have crossed the finish line.
Right, and we've still more than half of this race remaining to run. Drivers have to keep their concentration. Oh, as Weidbeck has gone very deep into the hairpin before the long back straight. Could be an opportunity for Wilson to try and slip into the slipstream here. You see, just gaining. Is he going to look to the inside? Having a peek. I think it might be a little bit optimistic to go for a lunge here. He slots in back behind.
Definitely an interesting battle we see here as they try to just survive by both attacking and defending.
Somewhat behind these two. Oh, I was going to say, Chris Wright has caught up to Balazs Fahir, but Fahir having one hell of a slide through the second sector. There's quite the tail slide.
Oh, which car is which now?
But
Which is the SimQuips and which is the BinQuips?
Well, the car ahead at the moment is the BinQuips, but with the way he's going, he could very well live up to his name for a second time in this race. He's getting very, very sideways through some of these corners, and is soaking up a lot of pressure being applied by Chris Wright. I think we just have had a change for position in the battle over P6. Also looks like Joe Wilson made that move up into turn 1.
Just managing to take the inside line.
Gets himself well ahead before the S's.
as we see Chris being all over the back of Balazs, trying to get his way past.
Well, it looks like Chris has got a good exit, but it's not that long a run down into the hairpin for the back straight. This is the all-important corner to line up that perfect exit and get the run down. It doesn't quite look like it was enough there for Chris. Quite the distance to the car ahead. He's going to have to sit in and just hope for a mistake from Balazs at some point. We have seen him sliding that car around, so just needs to keep applying the pressure and be patient. All this battling has brought Dees and also Svoboda into this battle as well. So these cars behind definitely have the pace over Balazs, but he's doing well in the defence so far.
Yeah, and looked like he might have some damage from his little ventures earlier, so that might be why he's sliding so much.
Yeah, it was a well. The one incident or the one collision we definitely saw was between these two very cars, as Chris Wright went straight into the side of Balazs, maybe taking aversion to the desecration of his SimQuips logo and just decided to give it an absolute punt. Yeah, definitely looking like Chris has the pace at the moment, but just not given the opportunity to make a move, and not in the part of the circuit where you can really try anything, even with quite a considerable pace advantage.
Yeah, through the first sector you just need to stay with the car in front, to then try and get a better exit out onto the back straight. And if you would manage to have to get a better rhythm, you could try a move here into the corner before the back straight, but the best overtaking position is definitely after this long straight.
Well, they're definitely closer this time around. Still don't think it's going to be close enough, as I think that was Chris Wright just getting on the blinkers there, letting Balazs know he's here. Balazs moves squarely onto the racing line. Chris not close enough to really try anything at the moment as they come through onto this final sector of the circuit.
And then into this sector, as well as just like with the first sector, you can't really do anything unless the car in front makes a mistake.
Yeah, this is at least the sort of sector where if the car ahead does make a mistake and you can get yourself considerably along the side, you can upset the rhythm of the car ahead, maybe force them into a slightly compromised line. You've got a few more opportunities than you do in the first sector, but yeah, either way, it definitely relies on the car ahead of you making the slightest little mistake to open that door. As Chris again right up behind Balazs. We come down towards turn one.
He's closer, but not close enough.
I think Chris has rolled off the brakes just a little prematurely there. Compromised his line through the corner, and that has allowed Balazs just to drive away just a little bit.
Looks like Balazs might have upset his rhythm a little bit on the entry there, having to slow down a lot mid-corner.
Yeah, as we were saying, so tricky to really capitalise through this section. If the car ahead of you is slow, you just end up having to lift out of it to avoid running into the back of them. There's really only one optimal line through that sequence of corners. As Chris Wright is actually now under attack by Dees. And it's going to be Dees who we need to watch now on the run down the long back straight. We'll be getting the double slipstream from the two cars ahead.
Looks like Chris actually managed a better exit. They will stay ahead for now at least.
It does look like Svoboda has dropped off the back of this fight as well. Now some 3.2 seconds back. As Rose has made it past Sosinski into P17. And I'm going to start to try and catch up to Lee ahead. We return to the battle of the quips. As Chris Wright continues to chase down Balazs coming down the long back straight, or the start finish straight again. Still close, but never really getting close enough to threaten a move. Oh, as Balazs going heavily over the apex curb at turn 1, unsettles the car, but it looked violent, but it doesn't seem to upset the pace of the car coming through.
Yeah, but then suddenly you might hit it at the wrong angle and just spin out in these cars. So.
Well, yeah, we've seen that plenty of times this race. Oh, as it's Chris Wright going for a bit of an optimistic lunge there, and well, I think the penalty naturally applied itself there.
Yeah, definitely. Wiedbeck is all over the back on Wilson for P6, heading down the back straight.
Oh, coming around the outside at the end of the back straight. That is, well, optimistic, but would have been lovely if he pulled it off, but just too much of an extra radius there at that quite tight corner. But Wiedbeck showing he's got the pace at the moment. He's really applying the pressure on Wilson. This the battle over E6s. Ooh, Wilson. One hell of a drift on the exit of final corner. As Wiedbeck has a glance to the inside. I'm not sure if that was just trying to get into the mirrors of Wilson. It seemed like he was way too far back to really have any legitimate chance at a move.
I'd just be trying to get into Wilson's mental state, just try and disrupt him.
Let him know he's there.
Yeah. As we can see, Wiedbeck is gaining a lot of ground through the first sector, but not close enough to actually try something down into this corner here.
It'll be important for him to really line up the exit for this hairpin, but puts himself considerably out of position there, trying to, as I said before, trying to get into the mind of Wilson, but didn't open up the corner as much as he could have done. And that's got to have compromised him down this long back straight. Wiedbeck, I feel like he's glancing a bit too early, going for half-hearted attacks, and really needs to pick his opportunities, sit in the wheel tracks until you've actually got the opportunity to pass. I think all of these sort of half-hearted glances aren't really going to be getting into the head of Wilson. He knows you can't attack from back there.
Yeah, definitely. With the experience Wilson has here in the community, he knows that any half-hearted attempts won't really go the other way unless you actually give them the space to take it.
And this gap staying at about 0.8 seconds. And again, Wiedbeck just pulling out of the slipstream coming down the back straight. Not sure whether he's maybe just overheated his brakes or something, because he seems to be spending a lot of time. Oh, as a big mistake from Wilson has just allowed Vibet through, so who knows, maybe I'm just talking nonsense, because that I didn't even notice what happened there. Oh, that was it. Twitch from Wilson on exit. Just as he was looking to put down the power, had to back out of it as the rear stepped away from him, and that's what allowed Vibet through. Up into P6. Wilson doesn't want to give up that position. And now that he's got a car ahead of him, has found himself some pace again. As Vibet misses the apex, and this is going to give Wilson a very good run down the back straight. Closing, closing, closing. Approach the corner. Is Wilson going to try and make a lunge on the brakes? No, just backs out of it, thinking the better of it. Oh, as Vibet goes deep over the orange sausage curbs, and that is going to allow Joe Wilson to try and take a fast sweep around the outside. Vibet getting a little bit out of shape himself, and Joe Wilson back up into P6 for now.
Just over 2 minutes to go. It will be an interesting last 2 laps for them of this race.
It's turning into a right little scrap here as Vibet tries to go up the inside, manages to stamp on the brakes and back out of it just in time. It's going to cost him on the run around the final sector as Joe Wilson comes out over the sausage curbs. And now Vibet with the run coming down the start finish straight, goes to the outside into the brakes. Going to try and carry the speed around the outside. Wow, that was committed from Robert Vibet right around the outside. Just chucked it in there, let the car carry the speed, and Joe Wilson playing ball, giving him plenty of space there, but that was a brilliant overtake from Robert Vibet.
Yeah, definitely. A very good scrap we see here. Both cars giving each other respect, showing good sportsmanship.
Well, as Joe Wilson's got the inside for the hairpin, backs out of it, but got the all-important apex, but just tried to get on the throttle too early there. A real snap of oversteer, and that's going to cost him. I think we're going to have... Oh, it's going to be close to whether we get another lap in this race. I suspect we may not.
Yeah, it will be very close as we have 10 seconds left, and Reese is soon coming around to the final corner. Yeah, no, it will be the checkered here.
There we go. Reese Tatzel coming around the final corner. Take the checkered flag, and the win here in round 2 at Circuit of the Americas. Extending his championship lead is Reese Tatzel, followed by Johan Leff. Third place, or regaining the third place earlier in this race. And with a gap not as large as it was earlier in the race, Sergi Sebastian, XP3, followed by Matthew Parry, P4. It's Samuel von Liebenstein, P5. Robert Vibet, P6. Followed by Joe Wilson. Crossing the line now are Sam McCarthy and John Sawyer for P8 and 9. And P10 will be Simon Eklund.
As I actually think Balazs Ferreira got past Tranmere.
He did indeed in the dying moments. As his Tranmere out of fuel as he stops on the start-finish straight, or maybe just stopping nice and early. But it's Fahit in 11th Trammer 12th, Dees in 13th, Zaboda P14, with Chris Wright after that spin and contact coming home in P15. Kenny Crows coming around the final few corners, bring it home in P16. Followed by Jack Lee and Dias Sosinski. And then still battling. Oh no, I think that is actually a lapped car behind. That is Lorenzon and Thorgilson, I believe. And our final finisher will be our P20 car, Richard Skinner. And there we have it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. It's been another action-packed race in the SimQuips Porsche Cup. Thank you very much for joining me in the commentary again, Casper. Good to have your expertise in the comms box.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Really good fun being here.
And it's certainly going to be fun again next week as the Porsche Cup heads to Monza.
And I think it's going to be a wet race.
A wet race in Monza. Okay, well, yeah, make sure you tune in for that because I suspect that will be carnage. Until next time, have a very lovely rest of your evening, and we'll be back in a few short moments for the highlights of tonight's race.
Call it that. But yeah, it was a good race. But as you said, a little bit less hectic. Okay. I vacuumed or hoovered or whatever it's called my floor today, but it still like feels dirty, you know? What do you call it in the UK? Hoover, vacuum. But like my floor still feels dirty, you know. Like you feel, like it still feels like dusty.